App Planning for Success. Brought to you by Software Accelerator Playbook. On Instagram at S.A.Playbook. Today on the podcast, we are talking all about connecting apps to blockchain and what that means and just what's possible. Now, this is such a new world that the landscape is rapidly changing. There's new technology, being born every single day. There's a lot of developers building into lots of different blockchains, and then, of course, the new word on the block, metaverse. That everybody is trying to understand and figure out, how they can apply it to their own business. So let's get into it. So ultimately, when you're thinking about blockchain, all you need to think about is that there's lots of different computers all over the world keeping a list of the transactions. Okay, so the opposite of this would be, somebody, in their own house, on one pad of paper, writing down all the different transactions, right? And then if the house burns down, what happens with the transactions? They're gone because there was only one of them. But with blockchain, what you're doing is you're basically copying this over to 40,000 people across the entire world. And so if one of them burns down, well, we still have 39,999 left. And then, any newcomer can just kind of copy, from one of those people. So ultimately, the whole idea here is that it's decentralized, right? We're not keeping information in one place anymore. We are keeping information all over the place, and we're keeping copies of it. And so because we're keeping copies of it, now it has, more security attached to it because, you can't just delete it. You can't just remove it. It kind of stays on the blockchain. In order to get it off the blockchain, you would have to literally remove all 40,000 of those computers, and to do that would be very, very difficult or very expensive. So that's the whole idea with blockchain, right? So there's lots of different blockchains. There's not just one blockchain. There's many different blockchains. There's you've heard of Bitcoin, of course, that was the first, and then Ethereum is its kind of younger brother, totally different technology, but same sort of idea with decentralized ledgers. If I say ledger, it just means like a list of transactions, right? So decentralized list of transactions, which means everybody, many people have copies of the same transactions. So then there's lots of new crypto like Solana, which I am very interested in because it is very, very cheap to send money. I think a transaction cost is maybe like a tenth of a penny. Versus Ethereum, which is very expensive. It's like, it can be, I think when I was trying to transfer, $40 from one wallet to another, and it wanted to charge me $14, which seems kind of crazy. So if you're doing high value transactions, if you're trying to move 10K, then, paying $14 is nothing. But sometimes that fee can go up if lots of people are using the service. It's called a gas fee, and so people have to pay to use the service. And so if they are trying to just transact smaller amounts of money, then it really doesn't make sense to use Ethereum because you're going to pay, an exorbitant gas fee on top of that. So ultimately, what's going on here is that there's lots of different blockchains, which are different technologies, right? So Bitcoin, while it kind of feels like digital gold, and since it was first, it kind of, still holds that spot. Ethereum, you can actually build apps on top of, right? You can build into Ethereum. You can put apps on the blockchain, and then they are more solid. They can't be deleted. And then they just stay there forever, and because everybody gets a copy of them. Now it's expensive to do this, okay? So it costs money to do all this, to interact with the blockchain, and so that's why there are other blockchains like Solana that were built specifically for the purpose of being incredibly fast, even faster than Visa, and I think faster than Visa. I'm pretty sure, or at least on par, to the level of thousands of transactions a second, versus Ethereum, which it's low. It's maybe 14 transactions per second or something. So that's why there's so much congestion, and then that's why the fees can get so high when you're trying to transfer money. So blah, blah, blah. All that said, as long as you understand that, this whole world of blockchain is just people having copies of stuff, and so that makes it more permanent because everybody's got a copy, so you can't just delete it from from one place. You have to delete it from everybody, which is impossible. Then when we get into the world of apps and building into apps, there's lots of different things to consider here. So, number one, you can put an app on a blockchain. If you want to put your app on Solana's blockchain, for instance, you have to either pay rent to keep it up there, kind of similar to if you would pay, a server host to keep your app live on their servers. If you've heard of, AWS, that is Amazon's version of that, where you can pay Amazon to have server space, and then they just, they charge you monthly for your usage. Same thing with blockchain, that if you want to keep it on the Solana blockchain, then you have to pay rent, or you have to tie up a certain amount of Solana as kind of, basically like staking your position, basically saying, hey, I'm going to leave a chunk of money up here, and then you actually don't have to pay rent. You can be rent exempt. So you do have to pay to keep apps on the blockchain, but if you put enough up there and you just leave it there, then you actually don't have to pay rent. You're rent exempt. So that's something to consider, that it's not free to play with blockchain. It's just charged in a different way, and there's just different things to consider there. So that's one level of it, right? One level is actually putting an app up on the blockchain where people can interact with it and use it on the blockchain. The next level here is NFTs, and you probably heard of NFTs. Depending on how much you've gotten into crypto, you may think like NFTs are completely stupid. Why are people buying JPEG images? What's the idea here? And don't get tricked by the media here that NFTs are just trash, and what's going on with these crazy crypto people? Why are they spending so much for NFTs? These are the birth pangs of an entire new industry. Imagine that maybe when the internet first came out, maybe you went to a website that was a scam, or you went to a website that was broken, or a website that was weird, right? Just because a website's broken or a website's a scam, that doesn't mean that the internet is broken. That just means that one website is a scam. Okay? So same thing with crypto. That, are there going to be scams within crypto? 100%. Absolutely. And there's actually a lot of them now. But blockchain and Web3, as we call it, Web 2 is like, social media and everything, being built on top of the internet. So Web 3 is this new, blockchain internet. Don't write it off just because you hear about, people spending $100,000 for a JPEG image. There's more behind the surface there. So don't get tricked and think that this is a passing fad. There are many, many people who wrote off the original internet saying, this thing is dead, this thing is stupid, nobody's going to use this. And look where we are today. So please don't sleep on crypto or Web3. These are the birth pangs. This thing is going to get more and more and more mature as more people build on it, and more ideas are going to come into play too. And you may actually be the person with one of the ideas that will be able to be built into Web3. So don't just think that it's over and done with, and what you've seen now is the only thing that's going to be. There will be consistent innovation on top of Web3, and then will probably also be Web 4, whatever the heck that is. But just don't write it off. So in terms of connecting with your app, what can you do? What could be possible here? So tokens, you could create tokens for your business. Basically launching your own currency, ultimately. If you think about, gaming, they have kind of their own in-game currency, right? Where you play, you get a certain amount of tokens for completing some level, and then you can use those tokens, you can swap those tokens for, getting a mod, getting an upgrade, getting a faster car, getting a turbo boost, whatever it is. You can, basically then, get this kind of in-game asset that then allows you to play the game more efficiently or skip something or whatever else it is. And then, because these assets are kept on the blockchain, that means that they are not kept inside the game servers. Okay, so what that means is, when somebody's launching a game, let's say a big game company wants to launch a game, and they want to, allow for NFTs to be played in the game, they'll create some way that the NFT can basically go into the game. So if it's a sword, the sword actually exists on the blockchain, and then the game developer will then basically, allow that sword to be used in the gameplay. So then if the person who used the sword then says, I'm done, I'm taking this somewhere else, or I'm done, I'm going to sell this thing, they can then actually sell that in-game asset. They sell the sword to somebody else who wants to skip the line and has money and is able to just drop the money and be able to start at level 40 as opposed to level 1. So the idea here is that instead of the money for these assets going straight to the game developers, and then that's where it ends, right? The game developer just gets money, right? You buy this sword, and then it's just exists in the game environment, and then you just give money to the game developer, and you're done. Now you're actually buying it on the blockchain, and now when you're done with the game, because you played it for 3 years and you want to move on, now you can sell your position. So you've actually built an asset there. You actually own an asset that you can resell, as opposed to having to sell like your login credentials for the game. If you want to sell your position, you can just sell the sword, and then somebody else can just skip the line because they've got the money. Okay, so in terms of your app, what that means is if people, if you're selling, a certain number of credits or a certain number of whatever else, this stuff can be on the blockchain. These tokens can be on the blockchain. And then also you can take a cut when these things are resold. So if you create an NFT for some kind of, I guess let me apply it to my own business, right? So if I create an NFT for a meeting with me, right? Let's say that I say, okay, a meeting with me is going to cost this much, and here's the NFT. Whoever buys this NFT then gets a meeting with me, and then after it's sold, after they use it, right? We meet, we have a good meeting, and then they go, great, I used my NFT, and now I want to sell my NFT. Then they can sell it to somebody else, and maybe when it gets resold, maybe it loses a little bit of value in terms of what I'm offering. Maybe instead of an hour-long meeting, maybe now I offer a 30-minute meeting the first time it gets sold. So the first person gets an hour, but the second person gets 30 minutes. So then that person who, had a good meeting with me, they can then post on their social media or post, within, my community, hey, I've got this NFT, who wants it? And then somebody can then buy that position and be able to then redeem that for, for whatever the value is. So then the first person who paid originally gets some of their money back, as opposed to, somebody just paying and then the money just goes directly in my pocket and that's it. They're actually buying an asset a digital asset that then they can flip or sell to somebody else for some either diminished amount, or in some cases, some communities, these assets will then go up in value. So let's say Gary Vee launched this is a great example. His NFTs are a great example of this, where he launched NFTs for his own business, and some people can play tennis with him once a year or get lunch with him for 15 minutes or whatever it is. Whoever owns that NFT gets that access. And so those things can then go up in value as the demand for Gary Vee grows. More and more people will want that sort of thing. And so then the first person who buys it can get value out of it and then sell their position to somebody else, which then, maybe they can even recoup their money, even make money because they held this asset. So I'm talking about all these things that are not connected to apps, and I'm sorry about that. Let me get back on track here. For an app, you can have a way to log in to your app via owning an NFT. So the only way you get into the app is if you buy the NFT, right? So they have to buy the NFT first, and if you buy the NFT, if you're holding the NFT, then the software can then check, hey, does this wallet hold the NFT? And if it does, then you can get access into the app. So if it's some kind of, a specific thing where you're selling a subscription or something else like that, then you are able to, basically, as opposed to people just putting their credit card number in and buying a monthly recurring subscription, they could go on the blockchain, buy an NFT, and then use that for access into your app. Or if the app somehow gives, if by using it you are able to earn certain things, right? Let's say that you're a high user of the app, or let's say that you refer somebody to the app, or whatever, like affiliate stuff. The app would then be able to give tokens to the person who did the good thing. And then they would be able to flip those tokens for cash, or for a meeting with you, or for, extra help, or, extra, done for you service, or whatever it is. And you have to apply this to your own business, right? There's a million different things to do here. But, if your app is, helping people, process video and they have to pay, $100 to process 100 minutes of video or something, but they refer people to the app, then maybe they can get 50 free tokens, right? And so then it doesn't really cost you anything more than just, letting people, use your software more, but then it gives them an immense value to be able to then tell other people about it. So it could really be used in marketing terms, in marketing the app, that you could, have this whole token system or NFT system to be able to incentivize people to either share about your app or buy into it because they know that they can sell the asset once they're done with it. If if it's something with if the NFT is like recurring access. And so ultimately the ideas for how you can use, NFTs or tokens within your app it's basically like the idea of anywhere that money is flowing into the app, anywhere that people are paying, anywhere that people are getting value, anywhere that people are talking about the app or able to, make some sort of affiliate sale by connecting with the app, that whole thing can be brought to the blockchain. And can be, you can create your own token that will then allow you to, mint more tokens, make more money, kind of the same way that the federal government just prints more money. But because money is, scarce enough, then it keeps value. And of course, there's inflation because of this and that. And, there's the whole monetary policy stuff I don't know enough about to get into. But the idea is that, the federal government doesn't just call it a day and say, okay, well, we've printed enough money, now we're done. They continue to print more money. As there, and then there's also more people in the world. So there's more demand and there's more supply, and the whole thing just kind of keeps moving. Same thing with you, with your own token. You could establish a certain amount of token within your ecosystem that allows people to buy from you or get services from you or get services from your app or get services from your support team to be able to use the app. And then you're able to create more of those tokens, as you see fit. To be able to, allow people to redeem for any of those things, and so then it makes it a little bit easier for people. Now, right now, it's not super easy to use these things, right? So crypto's so new, most people don't even have a wallet on their phone that they can use. But if you just imagine, when credit cards first came into existence, you'd have to ask the restaurant, do you take credit cards? Right? Oh, no, we only take cash and credit, or cash and check. Right? You're like, oh shoot, I can't use my credit card. And then eventually they got those chunk machines, right? Where they're like, okay, well, we do take credit cards, but we're going to have to run it through this machine, and then they, chunk, they put the credit card in, and it takes an imprint and whatever they publish it. And so now businesses are taking credit and don't even take cash, right? The main way to pay is with credit, and they don't even want to deal with cash. And so same thing with crypto, that what's going to happen is crypto is going to become more and more and more accessible, and then even credit card is then going to become dated. This will take a while, but it will probably happen faster than the adoption of credit cards. That from cash to credit was, a certain amount of time for people to adopt credit. And now for people to adopt crypto and also credit is going to be a quicker jump from credit to crypto. And so then everywhere you'll see, the ability for, with your Visa card, you'll be able to pay with crypto, right? It'll just be like that. It won't be any sort of fuss. But because you're paying with crypto, it's somewhere where you can actually own your own, token. You can create your own monetary policy within your own ecosystem. So for people who have these big communities, they can establish basically, this money that exists within that system only, and give value to this thing that's otherwise worthless, because they've got enough people using it, and they're backing it with their own personal brand, and they're saying, you can, if you use this token, then you can do this, this, or this. So, and then one last thing I want to get into, this is kind of getting long, but one last thing that I want to get into is the idea of NFTs versus tokens. Okay, so NFTs, that is specifically like where you're pointing to one specific thing as a unique thing that doesn't have any brothers or sisters. It's just by itself. Let me clarify that. It doesn't have any duplicates. It might have similar ones. There might be similar NFTs, but each NFT is unique. Okay, so in the same way that if you put a serial number on something and there's only one thing that has that serial number, then you know this is the one with this specific serial number. This is the exact one, right? There's no other one. Even though other things may look like this is the only one with this specific serial number. So in that way, you can sell specific ones. So one, maybe this one with a specific serial number gets access where, people can then, meet with you once a month every single year, for 5 years or something. And that's what the value of that one is. And so then when you go meet with this person, they have to prove I have this specific serial number, versus a token where this is kind of interchange, any of these it's kind of like they're all the same, right? So it's like I have 3.5 of them, or I have 400 of them. It's like I have a certain amount of them. It's like you don't look at one specifically and go, this one has a serial number, this one is unique. It's more of just I've got a lot of these things, right? So NFT is specific, this one specific serial number, but a token is I've got all these, I've got this many of them. Okay, so as you wrap your mind around this, and keep in mind, if this isn't making sense, the more you talk about it, the more you think about it, the more you process it, it's like riding a bike, right? The first time you ride a bike, you're going to fall off, guaranteed, it's going to happen, but you get up, you keep trying, and then eventually you get it. So if you want to understand crypto, and if you want to understand how you can apply crypto to your app, and how you can use crypto within your app or within your business, and get your business established on the blockchain, and potentially in the metaverse, start just looking and reading and trying to understand. And at first, and also keep in the back of your mind, whenever you get skeptical on this stuff, just remember that there was tons of people who were skeptical about the internet and didn't understand that, what could this thing be? And when the internet first existed, Amazon didn't exist, right? Amazon had to be built on top of the internet. And then, 10 or 20 years later, it's changing everything. But at first, it didn't even exist, right? So to understand, people are going to be buying shoes on the internet doesn't make any sense when the internet first comes out. When the internet first came out, it was like AOL and chat rooms and news potentially. But now it's so much more than that. So keep that in mind too, that as you keep your ear to the ground with this stuff, you will then start to think of more ways that you can apply blockchain to your business and to your app. So this is kind of more of like a, kind of like a visionary exercise, that this isn't just look at what other people have done and just copy what they've done. It's also think about the technology enough that you can potentially use it to make something new. And that's where the magic happens, right? There's going to be somebody that builds something on blockchain that fundamentally change, in the same way that Amazon is kind of like, really in everybody's household now. Same thing with Web3, that there's going to be something with blockchain, something with Web3, something with tokens and NFTs that is going to touch every single household. And it'll just be commonplace. And there will be a lot of losers, right? There will be a lot of tokens that go under, same way that there's a lot of businesses that go under, same way that there's a lot of websites that go under. But the underlying technology is good. The underlying technology is sound and being iterated upon. Okay, so don't sleep on that. Thanks for being here. If you are if you're interested in talking more about crypto and how that can apply to your app, please DM me at S.A.Playbook on Instagram. Again, that's Instagram.com/S.A.Playbook, or just open your app and go to my profile, S.A.Playbook, and click send message. All right, talk to you tomorrow. Bye.